next Attorney General. There have been few moments in history where the role of Attorney General and the occupant of that post have mattered more. Judge Garland, should you be confirmed, and I have every confidence you will be, you'll oversee a Justice Department at an existential moment. After 4 tumultuous years of intrigue, controversy, and brute political force, the future of the department is clearly in the hands of the next Attorney General. Under Attorney General Sessions and his successor, Bill Barr, the Justice Department literally became an arm of the White House, committed to advancing the interests of President Trump, his family, and his political allies. It came as little surprise then that the U.S. Department of Justice became the Trump Department of Justice. General Barr stated clearly that he believed the Attorney General was the president's lawyer, not the nation's. And what were the results? Too many in the department's senior roles cast aside the rule of law. Trump appointees in the department sidelined career public servants, from line attorneys to FBI agents, limited their roles, disregarded their nonpartisan input, overriding their professional judgment, and falsely accusing them of being members of the deep state. And the department pursued policies of almost unimaginable proportions, from separating thousands of innocent migrant children from their parents to banning innocent Muslims from traveling to our shores, from defending and even ordering violent crackdowns on peaceful protesters to parroting baseless lies about voter fraud in the lead-up to the 2020 election. The misdeeds of the Trump Justice Department brought this nation to the brink. In fact, as we learned after President Biden's inauguration, a senior official in the Trump Justice Department, Jeffrey Clark, plotted with President Trump for one final stab at the results of the 2020 election. They were thwarted at the last minute by Justice Department attorneys who threatened to resign en masse rather than join their effort. So, Judge Garland, it's no overstatement to say that your nomination is one of the most critical in department history. When I reflect on it, I'm reminded of 2 previous attorneys general, one a Democrat, the other a Republican, Robert Kennedy, Edward Levy. Kennedy entered office at a time of political turmoil. Although the nation had started down the path towards civil rights, Attorney General Kennedy recognized that equal rights and equal justice under law were still an aspiration for too many people of color in the United States. In June 1863, several years into his tenure as AG, Kennedy testified before the House Judiciary Committee. He said, "The demonstrations of the past few months have only served to point up what thinking Americans have known for years, that this country can no longer abide the moral outrage of racial discrimination." He continued, "If we fail to act promptly and wisely at this crucial point in our history, the ugly forces of disorder and violence will surely rise and multiply throughout the land, and grave doubts will be thrown on the very premise of American democracy." The moral outrage of racial discrimination remains with us today, as do the forces of disorder and violence. And tragically, the Justice Department in the previous administration fanned the flames of discrimination. But a restored Justice Department, a department under new leadership, can and I believe will meet the moment. There are great challenges ahead. The right to vote is under constant assault by those who wish to suppress the voices of communities of color. We have a criminal justice system still in urgent need of reform. And too many Americans, whether because of race, national origin, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity, face inequality in their daily lives. It is time for the Department of Justice to confront these realities that unfortunately continue to threaten, as Robert Kennedy said, the very premise of American democracy. Judge Garland, when I think of what you face in restoring integrity and independence to the Justice Department, I also think of another one of your predecessors and fellow Chicagoan, Edward Levy, who likewise assumed the office at a time of turmoil. Levi had, of course, been president of the University of Chicago before his nomination to serve as Attorney General for President Ford. And when he came before this committee for his confirmation in 1975, he was asked about removing the Justice Department from the ambit of partisan politics. This is what he said: "I do not believe that the administration of justice should be partisan matter in any sense that I do not think the cases should be brought to reward people or to punish them for partisan reasons. He continues, I think it would be a bad thing for the country to believe that the administration of justice was not even-handed because it was in some ways tilted by partisan politics. Why was this question asked? Why was Levy's response so important? Just 2 years earlier, President Nixon had attempted to use the Justice Department as his personal law firm, ordering Elliot Richardson to fire Archibald Cox, the special prosecutor overseeing Watergate. Richardson rightly refused to fire Cox, as did his deputy, William Ruckelshaus, and so each of them were fired in what became known as the Saturday Night Massacre. Richardson and Ruckelshaus refused to act in a way contrary to the rule of law. They refused to put partisan politics and the personal interests of President Nixon above fidelity to the Constitution and the principle of equal justice for all, even those who occupy the White House.